Hello everyone, this is Tessa. Welcome to my channel. And I have made a decision. I have an announcement. I have been struggling with a genre. Typically, I don't have a particular genre when it comes to my short stories and my blog. Whatever fits the prompt is what I write. But I'm not into some of the genres I end up writing in these short stories. They just happen to fit the prompt, so I go with it. My choices when it comes to reading are like mystery, murder mysteries, thrillers, like, the psychological thrillers, um, romance, and there are different types of romance. I have even gone as far as to write some erotica. Um, I'm not really into fiction. I'm not a big sci-fi fan. Not that I don't read them on occasion, and I am reading some of them for my friends as beta readers. And I told them, if you can convince me that the story is worth finishing, then it's a good book. So far, I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've been reading. So, my one friend, Melanie Doan, has a book coming out September. It's either 7th or ninth. I'm not really good with that. It's on Amazon, I think, as a pre-order right now. It's a fantasy, young adult fantasy, and I think she calls it dark fantasy. So I read that, and I was pleasantly surprised. I would like to continue reading more if it becomes a series, which she's thinking about doing eventually. And my other friend, Greg, I don't know his last name. He's on my stream, but he's writing sci-fi, and it's really interesting. Like I said, I'm not a big fan, but it's got me captured. I'm enjoying it. So, like I said, I do read those on occasion, but as far as writing them, I have no desire to write fantasy or sci-fi at all. Not into historical romance. I don't like historical romances, especially the Regency era and stuff. I just, or the even other ones, the, what do they call them, bodice rippers? They just don't do anything for me. Um, I love horror. I can't seem to write it very well, but I do love to read it. I can write short little things of horror. They don't have to be long, but as far as writing a book in it, I don't think I could ever do it. I can't see that happening. Um, I did write my very first, well, I'd say second. The first thing I wrote was a memoir, which needs a lot of work. So that's on the drawing board. Even though I'm still posted on my blog, the original one, it's being rewritten. And I'm changing it from just the military years to my whole marriage. So, I mean, it ended 21 years ago, so it's not the longest. It's a long marriage. I mean, I was married 23 years, but it's not the longest marriage in the world. Um, so I'm looking into doing that. So that's one project, but I like to have more than one project. And I was thinking, I wrote this um, murder, murder mystery. And at first, I had this great idea of I was going to write this big series, and I was going to write it all about this small town. And I could still use the town, but I decided that even though that book kind of fell together, it was written with a lot of different pieces of prompts and stuff, and I was able to put filler in and make it into I think, a pretty decent story. The longer I thought about it, though, the more I decided I really didn't want to write more murder mystery stories. I started writing a bunch of them, and I have like base, what you would call a base to work with, but it could just as easily just be a romance story as opposed to a murder mystery story. Like there's the base there, but it depends on how I use that base. And I've been thinking, well, I don't know if I want to write anything long. Maybe I'll just go back to blogging and writing my short stories and poetry. I thought about that, and then I started thinking, well, maybe just the change in genre might be different because the murder mysteries were dark and they were bringing me down. My mood's already in a depressed state, and I was afraid that it just wasn't working for me. So it seemed that a change is definitely in order. Now, I'm one who has a hard time getting suggestions, ideas. I don't know. That's why I use a lot of prompts. And maybe I could still use prompts in, with a different genre. So I thought about the different genres, and having written erotica, I do have a good bit of knowledge on romance, even though they're a little bit more graphic than just plain romance. Um, I thought perhaps I'd switch to the romance genre. Um, there's always something in there that's a little sad, of course, because you always have to have that before you can have a happily ever after. But in, of course, you're writing a murder mystery, somebody's not going to have a happily ever after for sure. So, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I'll think about redoing my romance writing. I don't know if I'll go full erotica, but romance writing. And so I've had a few books that I've bought on writing romances, which I need to read. I was just recommended to read Romancing the Beat. I'm not sure who wrote that, but I was recommended by several people who write romances to read Romancing the Beat. So I have the book, so I need to pull that out. They say it's pretty short, it's not that long, so it shouldn't take me long to read through it. And then it's just a matter of getting ideas, which is probably the hardest part for me, is getting the ideas. I, for some reason, like I said, have a terrible time with ideas, which is why I love prompts. And like I said, book one was written by so many prompts it isn't funny, because I wrote them in little serial like versions where each week or each whatever the whether they did it weekly or daily or whatever their you know whatever division that they used for their prompt is how I would do it. And so I had some that were done every week. I had some that were done every day. For some of them were like 50 parts, because especially the daily ones, because every day there were 3 new words to work with. And on Friday you had the 3 new words plus the extra where she took all 21 words for the week and created a big one. And so I have a lot. It's where I wrote a lot of these last ones that I've written. We're using the daily mixed with the other prompts as well, because sometimes they add it to it. I add them together to make them into one. And so perhaps the prompts can still help me get some ideas, because that's going to be my biggest problem, I think, is coming up with ideas. But I need to learn more about. I haven't read too many romance novels lately. In fact, it's been a really long time since I've read an actual romance novel. I just started one of the Kennedy Foxes. Um, last night to try and get an idea of what a romance novel is supposed to be like, because I haven't read them lately, so I'm really not sure. So I figured I probably should read a few of them before I dive headfirst into them to get an idea of what a romance novel nowadays consists of. I mean, the old-fashioned ones, really, really old-fashioned ones. I mean, there was no sex, there was no nothing in them. Back when I was a teenager reading romance novels, believe me, there was nothing in them. They were, tame as tame can be. Today's romance novel is a little bit. I don't think I want to stick with young adult romance. I'm not really into writing about the young. Though these that I wrote on the prompts were young, I will have to rethink those stories as if they're plausible for older people, or if they, aren't, or do I want to write YA, young adult? I don't know. This is all new to me over the last couple of days of pondering and not being able to sleep, and thinking about what I want to do, and realizing that I didn't really want to write mysteries, and they're difficult to come up with. You have to come up with a crime and suspects and how to solve it, and all the gory details. And I think I'm depressed enough without adding to it. So I think we'll stop with just the one. It's a fairly standalone book, so it's not going to be a problem, I don't believe, being just one book. And I'm publishing all these on my blog anyhow, so I'll just put them in categories. There'll be memoir. I can have my, murder mystery. Who knows? Maybe someday later I'll feel like writing one again. Who knows? Things change all the time. But this is my current decision, and I hope it's the right one because I need to get out of the dumps. And I need something more uplifting. And what's more uplifting than love? Not that I would know. Don't have too much of that except for family love in my life. My marriage was a total disaster, and every guy I've met since then has been a total disaster. So, I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with happy ever afters. So, we'll see what happens when I try to write one. So, that's pretty much where I stand now. I think a change of genre without, because if I just write short stories, they're a lot harder and I need a lot more ideas. But if I have a book to work on, might get stuck quite a few times. But and I might even I'm checking out different books on outlining. They haven't been successful so far. There's been a couple ideas out there that maybe put together might work for me. Not because to me I was thinking outline of the way I was taught in school. And people are like, no, you don't really have to outline that way. You can if you want, but people do a lot of different ways of outlining now. There's so many things to choose out there. And one book I read was a total disaster. Uh, I personally wouldn't recommend it. I know it was recommended to me by someone who totally believed in it, but I tried. And I tried. And I tried some more. And it's just like, I can't read this. I didn't like the way it was written, and it wasn't catching my interest, and I thought it's not going to work for me. I'm not interested, period. So that was kind of a waste of money because I ended up finding it totally useless. I don't know, I should say the name of the book or not because, you know, I didn't like it doesn't mean somebody else won't, and I'm not here to actually write reviews on the different books I've read. But I do know the snowflake method has some merit. Maybe combined with a few other things might be a good method. If I can make myself sit down and do that, my thing is I like to just dive in and write. And I mean, I don't know, people call those things, call it different things. So I don't even know what you call it anymore. But I usually don't write things down. The most I do is take notes because I'm liable to forget, the characters' names or their um, vehicles if it makes a difference to the story or where they live. Or, I mean, I constructed a completely fictional town. I have this whole town sitting there. Right now, it's it was supposed to be set up for my murder mysteries, but I don't see why I couldn't change it to be for romance novels if I wanted to. So we'll see. We'll have to see. But I do have to, with the longer writing, and my novels are not long. My novels are barely 50,000 if I'm lucky. 50,000 words if I'm lucky. So it's something that just seems to be something I can't do. Like, I don't know how many times I've tried. When I do Nano in November, like actually finishing 50,000 words is really difficult. Has a lot of junk in it that ends up being edited out, is what ends up happening. Because it's just like, okay, no, 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 no. And I'm getting better with each thing I write. So, of course, I'm getting more knowledge about what I do that is wrong. So I'm trying to be more noticing when I'm writing and not just, scribble a bunch of stuff out and I think about it. Is this really necessary? Because I have found so much stuff in my stories and I'm like, what does that have to do with anything, really? It doesn't push the story forward. It just takes words and time. And so it's not necessary. Tenses are an issue. I can't stay in the same tense to save my life. I have run on sentences. They just keep going forever. I'm like, holy cow. And I use Grammarly to help me pick up a lot of this stuff because sometimes I don't notice it. And Grammarly works for me and points it out. Granted, I have the paid version. The free version doesn't point out as much, but I mean, some of the things that I do that I'm starting to become more aware of. And the more I write, the more aware I become, the less I do them. So I'm getting better at putting the commas in. Although there's still a lot of commas with and. For some reason, I have a problem with commas in the word and. I just don't always understand why a comma is necessary, even though Grammarly insists that it is. So I don't quite get that. I mean, it's just grammar things. And it's been a while since I really wrote anything much more than short stories and stuff. I've been blogging for 10 years and writing stories and short stories and poems. Just recently writing longer things. I do NaNoWriMo every time, but there were years when I would sign up on the website and that's as far as it got. November, that was before they started the camps. I started in 2004. And November would come, I'd open the site, I'd set it up, and then either I would start something and quit, or I wouldn't start anything at all. So it was some bad times I was going through. So now I'm in a little bit different place, and so when I love camp because I can set a smaller goal, and then I feel like I've accomplished something because I can make it. I can't do 50,000 words very often. So, being able to make a shorter, smaller goal makes me feel better. So that's basically it. I'm still doing my blogs. I'll still write my short stories, my occasional poem, things like that. But I'm looking to change from mystery and murders to romance at this point. Something happier, hopefully. I know there's got to be something in there that's, not so nice so that the happily ever after means something at the end. Even though I'm not sure that life is happily ever after because I haven't hit a happily ever after yet myself. Things have not gone good in my favor, so I have to make pretend, write a fairy tale if I have to, once upon a time. um, so yeah, so that's where I'm at. I don't know if I'm going to start reading first. Whether I want to read the book on writing romance, do I want to read some romance books? Because I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything, like not finishing anything, and working on actually outlining. And do I want to outline or do I just want to write like I normally do? I got a lot to think about. But okay, it's time for me to go. I want to get this video edited as soon as possible. It's almost time for me to go on my live stream, which is at 7, and that's less than an hour away. So 50 minutes from now, I have to be online. So I will be doing one of those things or writing blog posts because the new week started, and so the new blog posts are coming out. And so I want to do as many as I possibly can because that's still one of my first loves. I really enjoy blogging and writing short stories and doing prompts and stuff like that. So they're still very important to me. If you like my video, please press like. If you would like to subscribe and you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified the next time I post a video. I'm not making promises as to how many videos I'm going to do a week because I usually don't end up doing what I say. So that way, if I make a new video, you'll be notified. And please, please, everyone, please be careful. Unfortunately, that horrible, horrible virus is still out there and it's still making people very sick. And I'd hate to lose any friends. Several of my friends have been sick. Even my family's been sick. But I don't want to lose anyone to it. So please, please be careful. And until later, have a great week. Good night.